Yeah, I think Varus Kench is really good. I think the Varus is quite the powerhouse for Deft. As you've already pointed out, Tahm Kench also alleviates one of his worst issues where...
Oh,
okay.
I would have preferred Senna.
I think so as well, but I do think the Lilia is like the only S-tier jungler that's still available. I think there's a little bit of discourse about this. Udyr and Hecarim are kind of unanimously agreed to be in a tier of their own. I personally believe that Lilia is still part of that if you play her well, if she fits well into the team comp. And considering the power that T1 showed in her solo lanes last game, I actually would love for them to go aggressive here, right? Pick up another Volibear and go from there.
Oh, wow, okay. So we're giving over the Senna Tahm Kench. Deft and Vista just think that it wasn't a big deal, and they're not going to make the same mistakes again, I guess. We'll see whether they do lock it away, of course. You know, Gnar is available this time around. Canna loves to default to that pick. An interesting pivot here from T1, though, to step away from what was their 100% POG-voted bottom lane and move in a different direction. The Gnar will be locked in, and let's see where Faker decides to go with his lock-in.
I'd like this more when you're in a best of 5 game and you actually need to like try and diversify, right? Or you wanna go and hide something, and with the Gnar you give away very little about what your team composition is gonna do. In this situation, though, I agree with you. Just lock in the Senna and the Kench. Teddy literally has gotten too many POGs than anyone should ever get on Tahm Kench, because normally that champion, literally the only value that it provides consistently is it allows you to protect and make defensive plays. But we saw there, Carrier was the one, he was setting up plays on it.
Oh yeah,
like it was a Leona or an Alistair. Like that's not okay. That's not what
he was the carnivorous catfish. Absolutely,
and
just tearing into them.
T1 go for a very different approach here, where they just say, listen, we're just going to pick raw power.
I'm listening. Tristana going to be considered right here, and I actually like this just because it pairs with a lot of different supports there towards the bottom side. You've got the Alistair, you've got the Rel, and T1 only have a couple of bans, and we'll see whether that is where they're going to go, because of course Tristana Gragas, another decent one. You've got so much displacement with that combo, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is what's going to be locked in here. Remember, that Sion not definitely going into the top lane. This is Hanwha Live Esports. Chovy does like playing the Sion, and so if they want to avoid the Gnar matchup, theoretically they could throw Morgan something else.
I wouldn't mind. Yeah, Camille could definitely work. There's a bunch of picks that can just make the Gnar's life pretty miserable. With the amount of damage you already have available, I even think you can look into something like the other beefy boys, right? You can look into something like the Malphite even, which I think in a vacuum works. However, with the double AP threats on T1, it's not necessarily that great outside of that. Rakan getting banned away there, that's pretty interesting.
That's telling me that Senna Tahm Kench is coming back, because Rakan historically pretty good into the Tahm Kench.
Yeah, because this is just looking like an Alistair pick.
Yeah, Alistair or Rel, right? Vista's absolutely fine with whatever the choice.
Because we have really dropped the Rel in priority.
Okay, so we were expecting a Chovy Tristana. That's what T1 was making sure they don't have to worry about. The Rel is going to be locked in, and now with people that are tilting their heads being like, T1, why would you ban the champion that you should be picking? Well, the answer is because Chovy could have been on that Triss, and then they'd run into the same problem.
I'm literally tilting my head as you said it, and I gotta imagine that this is some scrim info or some other info that we're not privy to.
I mean,
right?
it's Chovy info, right? Assume every champion can be played by Chovy.
I agree, but I still don't think that warrants not picking, like banning the Senna yourself. I don't think it's that strong. Oh, I've already spoken today about, I don't love this. I'm not a fan of picking the Kai'Sa into the Tristana. If you do it early in the draft, I think you can make an argument for it where you're like, listen, Kai'Sa's just generally good. We're just going to take the risk, make that work. However, what's happening here is you're just completely opting into a matchup. And this is such a pivot from T1's drafting last game. Like last game,
last game was like 11.6 Exodia magic that they created. And this is 11.5 Pitfall. That's what this draft is. And we've seen it lose many, many times. There's the Rise picked up. And this could be where Chovy's gone. The thing that I find ridiculous is having casted Doinby for a very long time playing Rise, this is like the classic I get all of the CS everywhere on the map forever pick, And so we're not flexing the Scion into mid lane. This is Chovy literally being a rift-wide Hoover. And this could be scary moving towards a late game.
It's like one of those vacuum robots. That's like moving around the map, and then instead of vacuuming your apartment and playing music, it eats up all the creepies, which is something that Chovy is generally good at. But when you have Rise, which has the wave clear of, well,
yes,
a Chovy.
He has the wave clear of yes.
You have to wait. Maybe we should like start using Chovy as a unit where like if your champion can hit the 10 CS or the 11 CS per minute reliably,
13 CS per minute.
Well, that's a Chovy +1, right? But like
right,
the baseline Chovy is 10 CS per minute, and then from there you like go up the scale.
Actually, I wonder what his like just normal regular CS per minute stat is, like his average CS per minute. I think it's actually higher than 10, as I will be able to have a look, I think.
Which should not be a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's considering actually like I think Hanwha Life has been good, but they haven't been amazing. They've been a pretty good team. Obviously, otherwise they wouldn't be in the position that they were in, but they still have a multitude of weaknesses that...
No, you're actually right. It's Chovy's just sitting on 10.
Okay.
And he's not actually the highest farmer. Ruler is actually highest, then Gumayushi, and then Henna, surprisingly enough. So, on average, of course, guys. And this means that, you know, there are some games that are just over before you can get to that extraordinarily large CS margin. So some caveats there. But yes, 10 CS per minute is actually a pretty round number.
So that's one Chovy. However, on the Rise, I expect it to be at least like a Chovy and 0.2, 0.3, if not more.
Yeah. I mean, his highest in the LCK so far is 12.2.
There we go.
On his Lucian.
That's pretty disgusting.
Yep. I mean, 12.6 is actually the record for this particular season, tied between Henna and Deft on Aphelios and Jinx, respectively, in games that, you know, lasted... For Henna's sake, it was 36 minutes, which is a bit longer. Deft managed to hold on to 12.6 CS per minute in a 28-minute game. You guys might remember that one. That was ridiculous. But, you know, Deft's Jinx is a thing that needs to be banned a lot of the time, and was banned in this game, was overlooked in the first. But let's do it. Let's stop focusing on some of these CS numbers and instead have a look at where these teams are starting as T1 with a very 11.5 draft. Doesn't mean it's going to lose, right? Like, T1 are a team that pull out wins based on comfort picks for their players rather than draft a lot of the time. It's why they're infuriating to a lot of our analysts, because the drafts don't necessarily make sense and then they still win. And you're like, but why? You shouldn't get positive reinforcement for bad drafting, blah, blah, blah. But because they're so good with picks that they're good at, you can understand exactly why they're doing it. As Hanwha Life will have the push here towards the bottom side as Chovy actually taking a lot of damage here from Faker as he's eating through his potions. Corrupting Pot there for Faker as it is going to be the tier start for Chovy. Okay, yeah, we've lost a bit here on still Kai'Sa. On and this is Kai'Sa into Tristana, which is one of the reasons why we don't like Kai'Sa very much.
No? And especially coming off T1's game #1 draft, and I'm happy with the pivot towards banning a Jinx, because I think after that first game, Hanwha Life coaches go, okay guys, actually, that was a bit of an oopsie. We're going to prioritize getting that, what's it again, 92, 93% win rate over the course of his whole career, champion.
Yep, let's see, if he keeps winning, surely he can get to 100%.
Yes. Long enough. I mean, if you keep going long enough, then eventually
it'll get to 99.
It will get close. Yeah. Close enough for us, at least.
That's true.
But the T1 coaches also made a very different approach, and I wonder if this is how they view the difference between a red side and a blue side draft. But then that doesn't really make sense, because they didn't really go for counter picks on the red side last time. They just went for OP champions. And to me, this says that they think that these are the OP champions, right? Because both the Victor, both the Gnar were blind picks. Lilia was heavily prioritized. That is the one part I agree with, but...
Fake is pretty good at Victor, by the way. Hasn't played it all that much, apparently, according to these stats, in the LCK. He was often on the Azir side of the matchup.
Oh, there we go. That helps.
Yeah, Chovy's pretty good at the Rise, but only 7, as, of course, being a more recent addition to the LCK. Rise sort of spent his time in the sun a little bit prior to that.
Rise is one of those champions where he's gone in and out of the meta more than
He's also been reworked more than any other champion ever.
That's the reason why. But like, it's one of those champions where he's been in and out of the meta more times than champions have ever like even been relevant. Like Ilaoi, for example, Ixu notwithstanding, that champion has not been relevant basically ever.
Yep.
And then Rise has had like 15 reworks and 35 different moments where he went from really good to broken to being not good again and then being really broken and just kind of riding that roller coaster.
Well, Chovy spotted the fact that Faker had no mana and decided to punish it. Understandable. Now looking for a back timing. Does have a little bit of CS in advantage, but Faker will be able to even that one up to within 1. So no worries there at all. Chovy with his teleport already on cooldown though, so slight advantage here for Faker, who can go back now, get all that mana back, and instantly be back in the lane.
What I am happy about is that, even though Kenna missed a couple of creepies there, we don't love that, is that he's been playing really well according to what the pick needs to do, because Gnar into Cyan relies on the Gnar to continuously have pressure to keep Cyan in his lane, maybe get a couple of plates, build up a CS lead, and that way keep his relevancy into either his side lane pressure situation or into a team fighting stage. And
oh no.
We've seen this so many times.
Yeah. They expected, Keria going to easily be able to interrupt the rocket jump, and that's going to be a gift given over to Teddy by his mate Keria, this bottom lane. I don't know, man. I don't know what Teddy does to Deft's brain, but, you know, it's been a while since it has been truly a matchup of two of our greats. Feels like Teddy just has something.
Yeah, I want to see how Keria actually got into that brush. I don't know if he went for an alcove play or if it was a different angle, because I don't know how otherwise he would have. Fact of the matter is, that wave was slow pushing towards you as Faker.
Yep, Spear is going to land there by Johan, has the pounce, able to follow the flash, gets the last auto, all too easy here in the mid lane for Hanwha.
And even though it's a double AP source, and now we see there are the Merc threats, and Verdant Barrier probably won't be very far behind. There is still setup for the Nidalee, right? We haven't really talked about where Johan wants to play. But more so than the Lilia, the Nidalee is kind of looking for angles, looking for openings, and trying to find leads for either herself or the rest of the team. And Arise, it's basically a point-and-click route, which you love.
Yeah.
Makes you very happy.
Absolutely. So we are going to have a look at this once again. Let's spot the setup, like you were talking about.
So it's a fake back, and then he stays perfect. Oh,
so
my
sneaky.
God.
Yeah,
that's
just no way out.
And this is a big problem, because if we look at why we don't like this is just very straightforward. Faker gets rooted, gets speared, dies immediately.
Shout out to Johan holding on to his empowered pounce just to make sure he can follow the flash like that.
But the problem with the Tristana into the Kai'Sa matchup is that what happens very often, we've seen this time and time again, where Tristana just gets fed and then can jump on you whenever you like. Like, if your support ever leaves, you're just dead immediately.
Yeah.
And once Kai'Sa gets fed, that actually becomes a problem, because that means that a significant amount of the pressure gets taken away from Deft. And now Deft is still going to be fine. He has frontline, right? He has more than enough ways to later in the game still provide his relevancy as Tristana, as you will just always be a really solid front-to-back teamfight crit AD carry. But a significant part of what makes this matchup so suffocating is that the Tristana, once she gets a lead, just stomps you and like just keeps jumping and stomping and jumping and stomping. And I think that's still possible now, but if Teddy gets 1 or 2 more kills, that avenue is not available to you anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, it's almost the same can be said for almost every champion, right? If you get too far ahead, obviously you're just going to win.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I thought I was smart saying that, but now I feel way less smart. So
no. But like this is a tough matchup, but any tough matchup can be alleviated by being better. And that's what Teddy and Keria have been demonstrating so far. I do love Keria's play. Like, it's not necessarily just being mechanically better, right? It's just being smarter as well. As we've got a sleep coming on down, but in goes the train as well. Morgan says, nope, you're not engaging on this one, but now Johan's in trouble. He's able to get the pounce out, flashes as well, the flash over from Canna, and he now has Mega Gnar available. Realm Warp just to get him out of there, as Chovy also just books it. And it is going to be a successful take of the Rift Herald as well. Now Teddy lying in wait in this brush as the rest of T1 now closing in. Teddy, explosive charge now on him. Vista flashed on forward. Has the aftershock, so keeps himself alive. Good exhaust there onto Chovy is now Vista. Likely to be taken down. Faker going to be able to grab that one, but trades it for his life. Heal out from Teddy to try and keep himself alive as well. Is now Chovy just chasing on after him, but he makes it to the safety of the turret. Definitely not quite as one-sided as game number one, but still T1 favored.
T1 styling a little there, Atlas. That was not necessary. Teddy really just wants to go for the big play, but the real battle was won on that top side skirmish.
Okay. Once again, Deft is just dead. It's, I don't know what it is, man. There's just something in the water. Deft just struggles against Teddy.
No way.
As Johan coming on down, looking to see whether he can land some spears. We'll find Kerry, who doesn't have a lot of mana. As, yep, gets in there. Track Repel, going to help out with the stun. As now Johan's just like, Deft, no, you just do that. It's fine, just kill him. It's okay.
I want to talk about how T1 won that top side, but they're not giving me an opportunity because they're just having fun. Like, this is not disciplined gameplay, okay? You're not supposed to use your explosive cask just to secure yourself a Rift Herald, or a Rift Scuttler. If it was a Herald, it was fine, but
Yeah.
a Scuttler is not okay, as the punish immediately comes in, and I hope we get a replay of the top side play.
I think we will. I think we'll probably be in like
oh my
a
God.
state of in the
Thank you.
past for quite some time. There are a lot of
Thank you,
replays to
LCK.
go through.
Lovely. But this is the key one, because I think in a straight-up 4v4, this is playable, especially with the Mega Gnar not being available with Arcana. So you're like, we can actually take this. This is pretty good. But it's very disjointed with Vista, Morgan, Vista, Chovy, and Morgan trying to get into a choke point, which you can't do against a Victor, right? You're not allowed to. So then we have Johan just off on his own, as this is not necessary. There's no reason for you to do this at all. But T1 is just like, you know what? We want to get fed. And Faker, really greedy, goes for the kill there. I think with the heal, he possibly could have gotten out, probably not. This kill on Deft is fine. The subsequent play on the Scuttler, absolutely not. You know, just leave here. And normally, if this was a match where the result had more impact, T1 would leave it at that.
Yeah.
But they're not, because they're having some fun. Because after last game, I can't fault
I mean,
them
why
for it.
not? Hanwha Esports, they're going to start having fun here as well as they take down the Gnar. This is, you know, one of those setups that we have seen before. The Scion Niddle is becoming a little bit more popular these days, and Johan's sitting at 3-1-0. So a player that has certainly been stepping up is continuing to do so as Cuz throws a bowling ball, misses Morgan. Might be able to put him to sleep if he wants to, but this is still quite a difficult health bar to get through. No ultimate available for Morgan, though, as Johan does come on over. Cuz not going to overstay his welcome. And there was a Cuz in the past that would have definitely overstayed his welcome there, but shout out to Cuz. Certainly has grown up a little bit.
He would have gone for that 100%. I think that he knew himself as well, because he didn't use the Watch Out Eep actually on Morgan. I think that he could have hit that if he wanted to, but playing it a little bit slower. This, as straightforward as it gets. I talked about the setup in mid lane. Setup here, even if you do miss your ultimate, is fine.
It's a zoning ultimate, you know.
It actually was in this
Yeah,
scenario.
straight up. I say it facetiously,
not ironically.
but it absolutely was. So not bad at all. Chovy's continuing to farm well as we have a look, but not when it comes to the clock. Now he's making his way back to the lane. And Johan now looking for Canna, who's looking to steal away his red buff. Should be able to get it, yep. Smite, better than Hyper Proc, as it turns out.
What I am happy, as I already kind of pointed towards earlier, is that T1 is actually playing, or rather Canna is playing around the pressure that this Gnar is supposed to have, because often we see teams pick Gnar and then nothing happens, right? And he got punished once, sure, but outside of that, if you ever, you know, go back into this game, like watch how far forward Canna is playing and how much pressure he's actually drawing from Johan and how much pressure Morgan is under, because it means that the Sign can't go for any teleport plays. It means that you can't use that ultimate as well as you otherwise would. And it also showed earlier, while Canna is always early to the play just because of the pressure that this Gnar gives in. And within this context, you can look at this draft from T1 and say, okay, are we a fan of it? Not necessarily. Is it as good as the draft in game one? Not really, but as you pointed out, if you're good enough, you can make anything work.
Well, Chovy just phase rushing away, Cuz trying to do the same thing here, but sleep will come down. Chovy getting flashed on here by Faker. Killer instinct from Teddy says goodbye to Mr. Rise. And Carrier clearing out some vision. It should be finally time for this Infernal Drake to go down, and we'll see whether the Atlas effect is going to continue to game 2.
That's what we call it now?
You know, not going to happen. Okay, guaranteed. It is going to be either a mountain or an ocean. And of course, it was going to be a 50-50 between the two, but thankfully, I'm only one cloud this time around.
One cloudy sticker.
Yep. One cloud Atlas. That's what they call me. No, they don't. They call me all the clouds Atlas.
I don't even know if anyone has ever called you all the clouds Atlas.
Yeah, no, maybe it's just me. Here's a Magnet Storm on the bottom side of the map as Carrier. He's taken down relatively low. Deft tries to find a few more bullets, but instead just decides to throw Teddy back with the Buster Shot, who gives himself a good old thumbs up. Okay, we're still hunting for more, but not actually able to find it. Gravity Field going to be avoided there by Chovy, who runs real quick. Mid lane feeling like a little bit of a wash here because, of course, Faker has so much wave clear.
Interesting to see them put so much attention here. I feel like there is definitely response possible, and there is a teleport that will mean the end to that play. And this is a bit over-forcing, I feel like. Maybe Hanwha Live is just looking for a response. So, like, we want to force out a teleport so we can make a subsequent play, because knowing that there's just 3 people there that are looking to dive and definitely can dive with the amount of ultimates and resources that are not available for T1. Force out a response, they might be able to pick up a turret here as well. Although in the top side, Kana will just single-handedly take it, and Kuz is going to invade the top side jungle, and all of that feels very, very good for T1. And
yeah, top side of the map is just Gonzo. Kuz is going to come on over and say, thanks for the leash, buddy. Helps him out. Deft will be able to take down that bottom outer turret, so that's certainly good news for Hanwha Live fans, but it is still, you know, that 2,000 gold lead certainly feels good for T1. Hanwha Live, it is a very different situation to last game, right? Like, there's no Seraphine effect to worry about, there's no Senna problem that you're running into, but T1's comp will still function very effectively the longer this game goes, and it's not like Hanwha Live Esports have the most ridiculous of scaling, despite the fact that the range advantage should be there in a front-to-back fight, for Deft especially. And have to see how it goes.
Deft indeed, as this is just relentlessly aggressive, right? Like, so,
yeah, and Chovy decided not to go for the flash either.
I don't think it matters, because I think that even with Faker flashing for him there, if he flashes, then
I mean, he could flash into the blue pit, and then theoretically he doesn't
still
die.
Follows him.
No, but Teddy doesn't have vision, and he doesn't get C. Maybe he does. Okay.
Yeah.
Good point.
I think he's just dead there, unfortunately. I like the angle, and I think that in team fights, Hanwha Live, they do have range extra. Oh, they're going in here?
Well, Shirley's definitely going in. We do get a Magnet Storm. There's the Wombo combo, but decent disengage there from Carrier, but a double kill instantly. I think that was just a cute little swipe from Johan, just mops the floor with Cousin Faker. Now, Hanwha Live Esports, they did lose Vista. Still a good trade for them. Still 2 minutes away from a Drake, though. Not a lot to fight for right at this instant.
Love that play, but as you said, it's a punch without a lot of weight behind it. You get 2 kills, Johan's spears are going to hurt a lot more, which is nice, but simultaneously it doesn't actually get you any objective, and the gold doesn't go onto Deft or onto Chovy, who can use it much more efficiently than a Nidalee will, which, whereas Johan is playing really well, I feel like his impact in the later game fights is not going to be as big as a Ryze should. Be able to, especially with that Everfrost now finished. Kana?
Yeah, Morgan might just get solo killed underneath this turret. Carrier comes on over and says, good night, my friend. Picks himself up an assist, as now Kana's just going to gnaw away the zombie and wallop it, and there is no chance that the zombie's going to be able to do anything whatsoever. It's just, it feels like lane kingdom from T1.
This is what the gnaw blind pick is supposed to do, and we don't see it often, and I think we justifiably so meme it for that reason. But if you see this gnaw pick, you're like, oh, okay,
Well, I mean, the gnaw blind pick doesn't get to guarantee a Scion matchup, right? The gnaw blind pick gets Jace to the face.
I agree. Come on, man.
Just cool guys don't look at explosions, I guess, as Johan just lets the red buff burn down. That's a caster curse. That's allowed.
Every time, man.
We can have one of them.
Every time.
An overstay.
I'm trying my best, you know.
Well, in goes the Realm Warp, and Vista's just delivered into the back line. That's one way of doing it. I like the ultimate out of Carrier here.
I think this is a beautiful play, and as you say, if Carrier doesn't go for that ultimate there, then it's just straight up devastatingly bad for T1. But am also of the opinion that now T1 is going to be ready for that. Like that's not the type of play that should work multiple times in the game, as this is, as you say, just lanking them in with just to make sure that everything goes well. Having carry in the vicinity. He just he didn't. He did want to look
killed by his own boomerang.
He did want to look at the explosion, but he didn't get over the wall.
Yeah, maybe it's like cool guys can't see explosions because they're looking at a wall instead.
They're stuck behind it.
Yeah. Earth, Wind, and Fire once again. The Ocean Drake has not been invited to this series thus far. But it will be the Mountain Soul. Definitely one that Hanwha Life are going to be pretty interested in. Wanting to augment the tanky stats of their big Scion.
It's also a big problem for Hanwha Life if T1 is able to find the Mountain Soul, because the amount of shielding and tankiness that they will provide will be a really big problem for the value of a pick like Johan or of Deft.
Yeah, absolutely.
While Deft, of course, on Tristana is going to be able to do consistent damage, I think Tristana, in everyone's minds, works best when she's able to just jump in, blow someone up, jump out, and then just do that multiple times in a fight. And getting those resets becomes a lot harder. Similar for Chovy, who, while the Rise is really strong, what has always been one of his weaknesses, and this has been kind of augmented by the fact that since the current season, there's no more shield, right, on your mana items, and he used to have a built-in shield as well. All those shielding is gone, meaning that he is still a machine-gunning spell turret that is a force to be reckoned with, but he's also squishy. And just phase rush is not going to be enough to really get you through that. So if he doesn't actually blow up people and he stays within the extended range of someone like Teddy out or Faking can kite him out, then you run into so many issues there.
I like that abbreviation, Tedia, instead of just talking about the bottom lane.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I know.
Big fan.
I'm glad you noticed.
Yeah.
I try hard.
That's good. I try to listen. As this blue buff is going to be taken there by Teddy.
Do you have to?
It was very subtle. I was hoping it was subtle enough.
It wasn't.
Every time it just strikes another little scar on your soul. No, that's okay. Kuz going to be able to eat up some of these Raptors here as we have a look at Faker. Trying to answer Chovy here on the top side. One thing that we should probably talk about, I guess, is the side lane potential of both of these teams. Rise has always been pretty good in a side lane, but they only really have a 4-1 comp, and Canna is going to be able to offer the one on the other side of the rift as well, so a bit of a wash there. As Def is going to come over, look to see whether they can help out on anything here, but just a little bit of happy feeding for the Tristana.
And what you saw there is one of the reasons why I would be afraid, really happy that they pointed out as well, to side lane into the T1 comp, because both side laners for T1, Kana obviously a lot more easily, but Faker has it available as well, is that Teddy can be waiting in the brush. And he already has level 2 Killer Instinct. Once level 3 is available, that range is going to be even more absurd. And the moment any CC gets hit, Teddy dive bombs in, blows you up, and all of a sudden you're fighting a 4 versus 5, which T1 know how to play around.
Well, they've certainly showed that they're a cut above Hanwha Life so far in this series. And the lead is only extending, right? Like it's 3.2, something like that, as now Baron has been started. Vision available for Hanwha Life as Vista throws in the control ward.
Low.
Yep, Nidalee is nowhere near this area as, okay, Vista's going to get thrown back. Does manage to get his CC down as Canna keeps the Baron leashed. Johan, can he actually make it in time is the question. Chovy not going to be able to flash on over, and it's just a little bit too late. It's the wrong time to reset. As Canna has now looked for Chovy. Killer Instinct gets Teddy over there. And this is Hanwha Life Esports once again, circling the drain.
It's all we just talked about. The moment that anyone gets caught away from the rest of the team, Teddy dive bombs in and blows them up. But the real problem there, and I think the smart move by T1, is they kept Kuz out of that Baron pit. And I think that was one of the reasons why Hanwha Life was, wait, are they actually doing Baron? Because you'd expect the jungler to be there. Kuz, however, was still clearing wards outside of the pit. And yes, Hanwha Life respond, but at that point, it's too little too late. The 2-item spike has been hit on Teddy. Faker has a lot of damage available as well. And with the double Leandris, they just shred through that Baron, and now T1 free reign of the map here.
Oh yeah, this is looking more and more difficult for Hanwha Life as this goes on. T1 continuing to extend their lead, and now the Baron power play. You'll have a look at that number after this replay, but let's have a look at how they play this one out. As Canna just walks on in and look, he just stays on the Baron this whole time while the rest of T1 deal with Hanwha Life Esports.
And it's a mixed comm here, I'd imagine, by Hanwha Life Esports, where But Vista clearly wants to go in, not wanting to give over that objective. Oh god, Kana, come on, man.
Maybe now we understand why the Gnar gets banned so often against this guy.
It's also such a redemption arc for Kana as well, because he got, I think, justifiably subbed out after having a really rough early sprint, and then to see him come back and perform this well, like that's lovely. That makes I think anyone really happy to just see players perform to their utmost potential. And as Hanwha Live, as I said, Vista trying to go in and play aggressively, not actually able to because Johan isn't there. And now you're in a situation where the split push is just going to get you. Sure, you get a Mountain Drake, but that's not going to be worth it, I'd say.
Yeah, they're going to trade it for possibly an inhibitor turret and an inner turret at the same time. But Canna is going to rotate back. Looks like the rest of T1 going to group up as Hanwha Life Esports going to lose a lot of health on that bottom inhibitor turret. This inner is definitely dead as Canna's just chilling in between the turrets, having a good time.
Dabbing.
Yeah, just a bit of a penguin dab. Got to have that when you need it. As Teddy pops out, he'll nail this inner turret as well in this lead. 4,000 gold Baron power play. That's you know, pretty good. They've got another 35 seconds on that one as well. It's T1 snowballing, man. Like, this is reminding me of, you know, SKT back in the days level of what the heck are you supposed to do?
Yeah, it feels problematic for any opponent, and we saw coming into this match T1's win rate, I think it was in round 2 specifically, with a lead at 15 minutes is 100%. That's some Dom on Kia level of dominance right there. And as a whole, as Hanwha Life, the problem is that yet again what happens is theoretically this draft, while I think it's a little bit clunky with on one part Johan and Chovy, you need to get close.
Hui, Canna's having a good game.
Yeah, he's been playing really well.
That's a bit.
I'm pretty sure. Very nice. I was like, I'm pretty sure Chovy's dead, but he uses his problem defensively, which, you know, for T1 fans, that one might sting a little bit because they have not always used the realm of defensively. We've seen some offensive ones, which I'm sure they'd rather forget. But we can look back at it now and kind of laugh because had everyone known that this is the T1 that they were ramping up to be, I don't think anyone would have minded those early games nearly as much.
No, and I think this sort of goes on to the playoff story, right? That we are going to be telling in only a few days' time.
Oh, baby.
Right? It's not like it's not a large wait before we get to our first round of playoffs, and both of these teams will be participating, not against each other, and not likely that they're going to be playing against each other in the playoffs or whatsoever, right? It has to be the actual final if we are going to see Hanwha Life Esports versus T1. But it certainly crazy. Is, like, if you're DRX, you're like, oh, damn, we're against the wrong team, right? Like, this is real scary for them. Hanwha Life, they're going to be against Nongshim. Should be something that's winnable for those guys, but DRX fans, it's going to be frightening. And, you know, Damwon Kia is sitting there. They have the first seed. They get the choice. And if you're watching this and you're going to draw conclusions, I think you're going to be choosing Hanwha Life Esports. As Johan, taking a few autos here from Canna, who's built a lot of tanky items, but also does a lot of damage, especially against the very, very squishy Johan, who has almost as Zonya's, but none of the tanky portion of it, and otherwise just damage.
A bit peculiar here is that T1 actually has a similar gold lead to game number 1. Like, we look at the gold, this is 10k at 27 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane, and the game might look a lot closer, but I think it's because T1 has just decided, you know what, like, why would we force? We have a...
It's a pretty early Flame Horizon as well for Canna.
Oh my god. We were talking about the inevitable Chovy Flame Horizon, but that's not happening.
Nope. That's not a conversation to be had for this particular series. Faker has just done his Faker things, right? He's very good at neutralizing, and he's done it once again. It's what he was paid for, you know? Like, many, like, you go back to 2018, and the reason why Griffin never made it over the line is because they just couldn't get past the brick wall that was put up by T1. And it's, you know, some of these tales just continue throughout, right?
It's a time to reminisce, but I just want to reiterate, it shouldn't be. T1 is up 10k gold. They can do way more, but they're taking it slow. They're taking it easy.
Yep.
And I imagine we're going to see them go fight a Baron, then realize, wait, we're actually way stronger than them, blow them up, and then win the game.
I mean, I think it's probably, you know, the next team fight will be the end of it.
Seems likely.
As
Oh boy, that's a teleport ward.
This is rough. We are zooming all the way out. Jonas Strong can sense that something's going on. Deft gets himself a red buff. And the ward goes over, spots out the Trist, who does immediately take that one down. And yep, Hanwha Life have to give up all of the ground that they've picked up, as Canna is just on mid lane clearing duty while the rest of T1 move on over. I believe they've started off this Baron. We can see that. Hanwha Life Esports can't. Things pretty dark on the Rift for them, but they do have an inkling of what's going on. Spear comes on through as Johan, can he actually steal this one away? As you can see, Canna just being a wall. But Johan's gonna have to go golden. Can he get out of the stasis? The answer is no, as Morgan gets on in towards the front line, looks to knock up Teddy, and does so. Spear is going to connect onto Carrier as Teddy jumps in towards the back line, but look at that, the damage has been eliminated. The wallets are so damn heavy on the side of T1. Faker's going to pick up a double kill. Johan was trying to slink away, and Teddy says no. That's the ace, and that will be the very swift, very clean 2-0 for T1.
Unbelievable, Atlas. I'm just sitting here baffled watching it happen. This is a victory lap for T1. Going into playoffs, this is the form that you want. You want to be looking this strong, you want to be looking this dominant. And honestly, I'd be afraid if I was any team going into the playoffs against this T1 roster. I think that Hanwha Life can do a lot better, but it's T1 that just plays this one out clean from start to finish. The fights are gorgeous, and there is just nothing to be done here.
Yep, it's Faker that's going to grab the kill onto Deft there as Chovy. Nothing that anyone's going to be able to do because the Nexus is dead. T1 utter dominance here today against Hanwha Life.